All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about one of the most powerful forces in software development, one that shapes pretty much everything we build before we even write a single line of code. So, have you ever looked at a system and just felt like you've seen it before? You see this giant monolithic application and, yep, it looks exactly like the rigid top-down company that built it. Or you see a bunch of small, independent services, and it's a perfect match for their network of small, autonomous teams. Is that just a coincidence?
Well, spoiler alert, it is absolutely not a coincidence. This happens so consistently that it was identified as a fundamental rule over 50 years ago. There's an unseen architecture at play here, and it definitely has a name.
And that brings us to the unseen architecture, governed by a very famous principle known as Conway's law.
Okay, so what is this thing? What's this invisible force that ties the way we humans talk to each other to the software we actually produce? How does the shape of our teams become the blueprint for our tech?
At its heart, Conway's law is shockingly simple. It was first pointed out by computer scientist Mel Conway way back in 1967. And it basically says that the design of any system you build is going to be a direct reflection of the communication structure of your organization. Or, to put it more bluntly, you ship your org chart.
And here it is, straight from the source. What Mel Conway saw was that the way information flows between your teams, or, doesn't flow, ends up defining the boundaries and interfaces of the thing you're building. The software architecture becomes a kind of fossil record of how your teams actually talk to each other.
Let's look at the classic example. You've got a traditional, hierarchical company, right? Information has to go up and down the chain. Decisions are made at the top, and every team is in its own little silo. What do they build? You guessed it, a monolith. A single, tightly connected system that perfectly mirrors how they're forced to communicate.
Now let's flip that on its head. Picture a more modern setup, a whole network of small, independent teams, each one focused on a specific part of the business. What do you think they produce? A microservice architecture, a system made of small, independent services. See the pattern? In both cases, the system is a mirror of the organization. That is Conway's law in action, right there.
So, if our communication pathways are literally shaping our software, then the cost of that communication becomes incredibly important. And this brings us to what we could call the price of communication, and exactly why team size matters a lot.
You know the old saying, just add more people to the project to get it done faster. But I think we've all been on a project where that really didn't work out. So why is it that making a team bigger often makes it slower, not faster?
Okay, let's do the math, starting small. With a team of just 3 people, you have exactly 3 lines of communication to manage. It's super simple, really efficient. Everybody can stay on the same page without much effort.
Now watch what happens. We're just going to add 2 more people for a team of 5. You'd think the complexity would go up a little, right? Nope. The number of communication channels just jumped from 3 all the way to 10. The effort it takes just to coordinate has more than tripled. And if we expand that team to 8 people, the problem just explodes. We are now looking at an incredible 28 different communication pathways. This is what you call a combinatorial explosion. It means the bigger a team gets, the more time everyone spends just trying to stay aligned and less time actually doing the work. And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. Some of the most successful leaders in tech are completely obsessed with this idea. Jeff Bezos famously said that communication is terrible. Not because he's antisocial, but because he knew that too much communication is basically a tax on getting things done. And that thinking led directly to Amazon's famous 2-pizza team rule. It's just a brilliant, simple guideline. If you can't feed your entire team with 2 pizzas, your team is too big. It's all about keeping teams small and agile by keeping that communication overhead low. So far, Conway's law kinda sounds like a trap, right? Like this force of nature that we're all stuck with. But what if we could flip it around? What if we could actually use this law as a tool to get the architecture we really want?
And that's the big question. If we know that our org chart is going to shape our software, then why don't we just design the org chart that will naturally build the architecture we're aiming for? This powerful idea is what's known as the reverse Conway maneuver.
And the process is actually pretty straightforward. First, you figure out the ideal system architecture you want. Let's say it's a flexible microservices system. Second, you literally restructure your organization to mirror that goal by creating small, independent teams. And third, you give those teams the power and the tools to actually build and run their services.
So what does this perfect team look like? Well, first, it's small. That two-pizza rule is key. It's focused on a clear business area, not just a piece of technology. It's also empowered to make its own decisions without having to ask for permission all the time. And critically, it has all the skills it needs: product, design, coding, operations to own their service completely. It's the whole you build it, you run it philosophy.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. If you want to properly design your system, you have to start by designing your team. There's this incredible idea from the world of software engineering that just nails it. The very act of putting a team together means that huge architectural decisions have already been locked in long before anyone even starts talking about databases or APIs.
And that's the whole point. Your org chart isn't just some soft stuff for managers to worry about. No way. For anyone who builds things, organizational design is a top-level, first-class architectural concern. The lines on your org chart are just as important as the lines of code you write.
And that leaves us with one last question to think about. I want you to take a hard look at your own organization. Look at the size of your teams, how they have to communicate, where the bottlenecks are. What is that structure telling you about the system you're building today, and, more importantly, the system you're going to be stuck maintaining tomorrow?
Hey, if this look into the invisible forces of software design was helpful, do us a huge favor and hit that like button, share it with your colleagues, and definitely subscribe for more explainers just like this one. Thanks for watching.